So we were just talking about, ironically, how there was one phone in the town, and then you had to wait to get off the call, and then a call came through a second on the same phone and knocked the connection off. But yeah, so we were talking about kind of the process and kind of what it took, what it might take for some people to realize they need to start taking the sport a little bit seriously if they want to make it, and kind of when that sort of happened for you, and talking about some of the issues that you had in Sydney 2000. So yeah, sorry, carry on.
Right. So I was saying that when I made the Olympic finals in Australia, that is when I realized that I actually can do this. And it's not that you take it more seriously, but you understand that this is for you because you've been working hard all the time. You've been putting in the work, but sometimes some people don't realize that, I can actually be really good at this. So they go through the motion and they're just doing it just because. They never get that aha moment to realize, man, I can do this.
So just for context, so that was 5 years after your first World Championship in Gothenburg. That's correct, right?
Right.
So you kind
Because,
of gone through that first part of your career, sort of, I don't want to say not taking it seriously necessarily, but knowing that you may be, but not taking it as seriously as maybe you could have. And then you kind of gone through this of essentially making an Olympic final and then thinking, wow, I can be even higher up than this. Is that right?
well, in a sense, yes, because we're talking about going to the World Championships
Hmm.
and coming out in the first round.
Hmm. Yeah.
So at that point, you realize you don't even have, there's no chance because that's just the first round. Because remember, back in those days, we had the 4 rounds.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So you had the first round, second round, one day, and then you come back the next day, semi-final, finals.
Hmm.
But now, of course, they're changing the sport. They're giving the athletes a lot of rest, and they're just making the sport soft.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it's not the way the sprinting was back then.
Hmm.
It was so brutal.
Well, because you had four
Yeah,
rounds in the 200 as well, didn't you? So if you want to do
yes,
the one
yes,
and
you
the
did.
two, that's 8 races, and then any relays, which was 3 rounds as well.
Right, but then also it's the time span in which you had to do it was the
Hmm.
difference.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I made the Olympic finals in Australia,
Hmm.
my I hurt my groin. And when I came out of the call room, the physio from the after I finished the race, by the time I get out of the physio, it was time to go back into the call room
Yeah.
for the
Okay. Yeah.
finals. So there
Right.
was no there was no cooling down, there was no warming up. So at that point, even though I made the finals, I was like, just finish your race.
Right.
That's all you can do. Just finish your race because my body was really done. It was done. It was injured. It was banged up. There's not much I could do but just finish the race. And sometimes if you just tell yourself that, just finish the race and not put too much pressure on yourself, it magic happens. Just to mention one thing, I think it was 2013 about there where horse horse how you say it horse guard parade.
Oh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
This is in London. We had a street race. We had a street
Oh,
race
I
in
do. I do.
London.
I know the street race that you mean. Yes, yes, I do. I do know exactly where you mean. I can picture it. Was it 2014 or 2013?
I think it was 2013.
Okay.
But what happened? I was out. My wife was out. She's shopping, and I was walking too much.
Right.
And then after that, I went to train, which is my legs was already tired, and I caught a cramp.
Right.
And I was like, "Oh my, done." I did not train that entire week leading up to that race.
Okay.
And then when I went to the physio in London, one guy he was doing some work, but the other guy he went in a lot deeper, and I was like, "Oh my, the pain is still there." My wife is
Right.
like, it's just only 4 of you running. Don't fall start. Just finish the race. I went out there just trying to finish the race. Boom, 996 PB.
Yeah. I mean, so. What do you feel is like the lesson to be learned from that? Because I mean, that what kind of straight away I just think of it kind of shows sort of like the power of the mind.
The power of the mind and relaxation.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, this is crazy, but we're having a conversation here. I don't like to look at start lists.
Okay.
If I go to a Diamond League and I look at the start list, okay, Usain has won 9-5, and Tyson, he won 9-7, and Asafa, he won 9-6, and Johan, he won 9-6. And if you go and look at that, you will never go and compete, honestly. Because you already tell yourself, look at what these guys are doing. Why are you even here?
Right.
So if you do that, so a lot of athletes, they psych themselves out looking at what the competition did, whether it was last year, last week, 10 years ago, and they think that that's what they're going to always do.
Yep.
And they don't understand when I say I don't have to go faster than them. They just have to go slower than me.
Yeah.
And some people get it, some people don't. But you just need to be there. And when you're 10-0, when they're going to run 10-1,
And
you just
that's
need to
Paris
be there.
2003, right?
That's all it is.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And a lot of people say, oh, well, it was slow. Well, you have all these other 9-point sprinters that didn't deliver that day. Why are you blaming me?
Yeah.
I did. If you go back and check, the majority of my career was 10-1, 10-0, 10-1, 10-0, majority of the time. Sometimes you'll get a 9-point, but the majority was 10-1, 10-0, 10-1, 10-0. You can be sure of that. So if the race was in that region, I would be there.
Yes.
Because there's a notion that a fast horse cannot win a slow race.
Right.
I don't know if you ever heard that.
I haven't. That's interesting.
Yeah. Apparently, a fast horse cannot win a slow race.
Okay.
And it's just the way they're wired.
Yeah. That's interesting. I mean, I think as well, like, I mean, I keep banging on about kind of your longevity, but your consistency is I mean, it's almost one and the same thing. So, um, you know, we're saying that you were always running 10-0, 10-1, but you were doing it for a period of 20 years. Like it was, you knew for over like 2 decades when you're going to step on the track that you're going to get a 10-1 or quicker over a 2 decade period. And I think it's fair to say there's nobody else that you can say that about. I think I think that kind of and that kind of consistency must build confidence with it as well. So it's kind of that you're not gonna go out and run 10-2 or 10-3. You know it's going to be a 10-1, and that's got to be that like I say, that's got to kind of give you some sort of some sort of confidence that kind of comes with that you can always be in the mix.
Well, it takes some patience. And the patience comes from building. Like, for example, most people, like, first day of training, they want to break a record. And like, it's just the first day. Okay? There is a method to the madness. But when you explain that to people, they find it offensive. How dare you tell me I'm supposed to run slow?
Right.
Now, everybody thinks that you can just get up and run. Yeah, I mean, we're not talking about if you've been chased by a dog or if you've been running from the police or a madman is chasing you. In that case, everybody can run. But when you're talking about organized sprinting, it's different. If you're going to have a band in a garage, or if you're going to have an organized band that's going to perform on stage, it's different.
Yep.
If you have a singer, a real singer warms up their voice before they sing. NASCAR, they warm up the engines before they race. Well, there's some crazy people that think that the engine performs better when it's cold. I know different, okay? But again, they have this ready done mentality, and they're gonna just continue to fail because of the ego. What it is, everything you're doing now, you had to learn to do. People forget that. You had to learn to sit up on your own, whether you're in school and you're learning. Even if it's like 2-letter word, then you go to a 3-letter word. Then you learn to build a sentence, and then you might do a paragraph and a short story. You're building.
Yeah, it's always progress, isn't it? It's always progression.
They don't want that. And I even so I tell them, if you're doing mathematics, fractions, decimals, the teacher always starts out easy.
Mm-hmm.
But by the time you get to the exam, it's going to be a lot more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a bright person or you were paying attention, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
But no. They just want to come and they want to do it. But someone explained to me that the race is the easiest thing to do. To play a basketball game is easy. To learn to play basketball is hard. To learn to run is hard. To learn to play football is hard, but they just want to play. They don't want to go through the training. And I understood it that time.
Okay. So, yeah. So you're one of the things that I remember reading about you was that, and I think this kind of comes back to your kind of concept of patience and sort of like listening to your body. Again, I don't know how much of this is true, but I'm sure I read an article that said that, there were days where if you woke up and you weren't feeling good, you didn't. I think they quoted it almost like if you didn't feel like it. I don't know if it was quite like that, but there were days that you wouldn't train.
That is correct.
Yeah. So can you sort of like talk to us kind of like a little bit about that and maybe a little bit about the reasons kind of why you would choose not to train on a day such as that? And yeah.
Well, those are the days when you listen to the body.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect example. Friday night, I was trying to go out with the kids, and I'm sitting in the car waiting on the wife, and I looked at the needle, and I realized the car is overheating.
Right.
What do? I shut the engine off.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I was to try to drive that vehicle to
Mm-hmm.
where I was going, it'd be a lot of problems. And you know that a tow truck would have to tow us home.
Yep.
Similar, the body is telling you, hey, not today.
Yeah.
And most people say, well, that's when you need to push the body. But hey, the body is sending you some signal saying, hey, not today.
Yeah. I think
And
that's
they go out and they push it and something happens. And the worst thing about that is that from my observation, a lot of times people get hurt. And instead of getting treatment, they hide and then they want to go compete.
yeah.
And then they make it worse. I know people who they deliberately run themselves into retirement because they want to compete.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
though they're injured. They're injured and the ego will not tell them get better.
I can fully believe it. And I think that again, sort of, I mentioned social media earlier, but the whole kind of go hard or go home type of sort of mentality, or when there was some sort of meme is when you're sleeping, I'm training, when you're eating, I'm training, when you're doing whatever, I'm training, and those kind of messages, I think they're probably incorrect. Sort of like they're feeding into this thing that it almost makes you feel guilty, or it could make you feel guilty for resting. When, like in the
Not this
example you've
guy.
just given.
Not this guy.
Yeah.
No. No, let me explain something.
Yeah,
And
go on.
for those who are listening, understand this thing clearly. If you get anything, understand this. You cannot train the body to do a task while being tired, unless the body will be required to do that task while being tired.
Right, okay. So unless the
Okay?
competition demands that you're doing it whilst tired.
Right. So
Right.
let's say you're in the army and you're a soldier. You don't know when the riot is going to end. So you have to, you see how they train the soldiers. Even back
Mm-hmm.
home, the,
Mm-hmm.
the long walks they go on with the gear, that is real.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to do that in real actuality. It's going to happen in real life.
Yeah.
Like MMA fighters, kickboxers, them fights, those arms and legs get very heavy during that fight. You will not believe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Footballers, you're talking 90-minute high impact.
Mm-hmm.
Their endurance has to be on point. So I understand they're tired and they're running and running and running because the game, finals, and you can't complain you're tired. Okay?
Yeah.
The fans come to see you win. So some sports, yes, they have to do that because the sport demands that. Me running 100 meters tired,
Yeah, it's not that's not going to be like specific to the
No,
competition, is it? It's not like a
no,
situation you're going to find yourself in. Yeah.
no, no. But you do have to listen. And again, I've seen so many people lose their career because they think it's go hard or go home. And they
Yeah.
all go home. And no, it's true. It's true
Yeah, no,
because
I'm not. Yeah, it was just it was a very real way of putting it, and I think I'm not going to know this as well as you, but I can think of people that have been through that situation. Yeah.
but what's crazy to me is like I get a lot of questions from all over the world
Hmm.
about training. And one of the things when I tell people, okay, they would send me, I would ask for a video of your race. I would look at the race. Hopefully, sometimes it's good quality, sometimes it's not. But I try to look and analyze and give me an example of what you do for training.
Hmm.
Most people, what they do in one day, I would have that workout for at least 1 week or more.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, so I know that you're kind of starting the process of sharing your training online. So I don't want you to give away kind of too much because I know you're kind of launching this yourself. But are you able to kind of give us a little bit of an insight as to you know some of what a typical week of training may have looked like for you?
That's not a problem. Now, okay, the first day of training,
Hmm.
normally I would run 10 times 100.
Okay. When you say first
But
day, you're saying first day of coming back after the break for the off season.
yeah,
Is that
yeah,
yeah,
first day off season.
yeah,
But I am doing that between 18 and 20 seconds.
right.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's
And
we're talking almost half pace, half speed.
yeah, and you're going to do that.
Hmm.
And then the next day you recover. It's not much to recover from, but you have to build the format.
Okay.
And then the third day, we're going to come in with some 200s. You run 200, walk 200 at the same pace.
Okay.
You run 200, walk 200. And then you come back the Thursday and you recover again.
Okay.
And then you come back on Friday and you're going to walk 100 and you're going to run 300 and you
Right.
walk 300. Okay. So that is typical. Once you do that first 6 weeks of tempo,
Hmm.
that that is the first start of the base that you need to make.
Okay.
Because what it is, the body now you have to get the body fit
Hmm.
before you can pile on anything.
Okay.
But most people, they go the opposite direction. They want to be racing. So I would not see spikes before months down the road. The several months go by before my feet can see a pair of spikes.
Okay. Yeah. So you're really kind of, I mean, you're really building that foundation. You're really kind of taking
Yeah.
it easy, really progressing, really. I mean, that word patience comes into it again because I'm sure, if you've come off a season where you've just run 9:9 and then you've had a few weeks rest and then the first 100 meters you come to running training and it's 19 seconds, then I'm sure I, I feel like it requires discipline and patience to run that slow.
It does. And that's why most people don't want to do it.
Hmm.
For them, that is disrespectful. They want to go speed.
Hmm.
Okay. But here's the thing. You're learning to drive a vehicle.
Hmm.
The majority of us, we get put in a small vehicle for size and limited power.
Yep.
Okay. Those small vehicles don't have the power that you will have in a normal vehicle. That is why just about every country, they have some small vehicles with not too much power to teach you to drive,
Yep.
to get you accustomed to something small before you can move up to a bigger, more powerful engine.
So you
But
got
at the
to
same
earn
time,
that right to access that power.
yeah. But what
Yeah.
it is, we as human beings, we forget that we evolve, but we have to learn to evolve.
Hmm.
And they don't want that learning process. And I think that what kills us is that we just want to do, we forget the learning, and we think we're invincible.
Hmm.
So they
Yeah.
get hurt and then they keep coming back. But the problem I have with a lot of this is that you went out as an athlete and you failed, and now you want to coach.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see why why you would have a problem with it. I can understand that.
So then now you're teaching the same go
Yeah,
hard or go home mentality.
yeah,
And when some broken athletes come to me and say, listen, if you come and you follow this, you will not fail. Why I can tell you that is that this guy Jason Rogers, who
yeah. I
became the
remember him.
yes, my wife and I was coaching him to become the knockout champion.
Okay.
So he's the second fastest man in St. Kitts and Nevis after me,
Hmm.
and I was his coach. My wife and I was coaching him.
Right. Yeah.
So although we have tried on me, we have tried on other persons.
And it's
But
worked.
if you don't listen, I've had athletes come around and you'd say, "Hey, I need you to run this time," and they run faster. And I said, "That's not what I asked." And they're gonna honestly tell me, "I know I did wrong. That's what I wanted to do." So my thing is now, if you come to me to coach you, and I give you my price, and you're telling me what you want to do, the price doubles. Just letting you know.
Right. Okay.
No, no,
Yeah.
no, no.
Yeah.
I'm fine, you know.
Yeah.
Because
It's an incentive
if
to listen.
you know exactly. But the thing is, let my I know my I know my training is not gonna fail
Yeah.
because
Okay.
there's so much dynamics that goes into the training. But if you have a fit body to work with, it's gonna be easy. You won't get injured. You like some people they may run a race and they I'm sore. I feel banged up. I would only feel that way if I go to a race. I would have to do maybe 2 rounds 100 and maybe 2 rounds of 200 the same day to feel what they feel.
Right. Okay.
But once the body is trained well, after you run a race, you would more likely to feel like you can run again than feel
Yeah.
banged up.
Yeah.
But it just shows something is wrong with the training.
I think it's really interesting what you're saying because I think that I feel like there's a saying that the most important ability is availability. So it means that if you're not healthy enough, if you're injured, you can't make it to the start line, and you're not available to compete, then you're no good to anybody. So the most important thing is that you're available to compete. And I feel like you're kind of getting that from sort of two angles. So the first angle is the fact that, like you say, you're building this fit body, and with that kind of comes some robustness. But then the second thing is that from the week that you just outlined, you're really only training like 3 sessions per week, is what it sounded like. You had the 100, you had the 200,
Yeah.
you had the 300s, and
Yes.
everything else was just fairly. You termed it recovery, and I feel like that's there just to kind of support those 3 sessions. So you're developing this fitness, but then you're also kind of not doing a crazy amount of work, and both of those mean that you're just staying injury free.
But then also after the 4 6 weeks, we up the stakes a bit.
Okay.
So what it is, I explained in a video, you cannot have volume and intensity at the same level.
Hmm.
So when one guy is going to do 2100s in one session, all out, I'm telling him that's a waste year for me. I might do 20 races in one year.
Yeah.
And again, they get offended because they think like, no, you're not being competitive enough.
Hmm.
They don't understand that's not the way. You're trying to teach the body to do something. And it's like you come to school every day and every day is an exam. When do
Yeah.
you find time to learn?
That would just be an extremely stressful
Thank
life.
you.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
and and I think that I can imagine that it would take the fun out of training if you feel like every day you've got to turn up and you've got to perform at PB level every single day you turn up to practice. That's got to be a stressful way of living.
No, that is a ego of a madman.
Mm.
Because again, let me repeat this. They're gonna come in and they're gonna do this year after year.
Hmm.
And at no point they're gonna stop and say, man, last year I did make the team because of injury. The year before I did make the team, injury. At what point do you say, no, I really need to,
Yeah,
something needs to change?
yeah, 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 yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think kind of going back to the point that you made about like people coming in, ex-athletes coming in and being coaches, and I think that that's okay if you've got somebody that's seen their mistakes and been willing to learn from them. But if you haven't, and like you say, I'm just going to give you what I did when I was hurt every year, then that's probably another recipe for some more injuries just with somebody else.
Well, some people get offended, but I can honestly tell you, I've been around a long time, so I've seen a
Hmm.
lot of this. I've
Hmm.
seen a lot. I know what I'm talking about. I don't need to name drop. And I am saying to people, for example, I was doing some research for my country, and one of the things I would, you know, get a feeling from athletes how they feel about the coaching and the training and funding and all these other things. And a lot of athletes tell me they love their coach. They don't want to change their coach. But I try to say that, listen, you could love your coach all you want, but it's not working.
Right.
So you got a tough decision to make. You're gonna stay
Yeah.
with this coach and go down, or are gonna move on if you really love the sport. And
Yeah. Okay. So
they
they're
don't
almost too
understand. You're not
loyal.
doing it for the coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're loyal
To a
to
fault.
nothing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because no, but the thing is too, the coach must come to the point and say, listen, man, I don't know what to do anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to help you. This is not working because honestly, I've had people that come around me and when they want to do what they want to do, I say, listen, I won't be part of this. I'm done.
So I mean that makes me. You mentioned the word ego a few times, and I think that to have a coach that's willing to say, "Do you know what? I don't know. I'm out of ideas." I think that takes somebody that you can't have a big ego if you're going to be able to do that. It takes somebody being like very secure to say, "Do you know what? I've tried everything. I'm not sure what we do in this situation."
Exactly. Because when I was with my college coach in Texas Christian University, a guy
Hmm.
called Monty Stratton,
Yep.
it
Mhm.
was when with him, it's like he would say, listen, Kim, if you're not up to it, don't waste both of us time. Because here's the thing, if I'm gonna come to training and I can't give you 100%, I'm gonna come a half-ass. No, no, stay home.
Right.
Stay home. Yeah. Because what's the point?
So was that was kind of what would be going through. So you spoke about the car with the needle that was showing that the engine had overheated. These were some of the things that were kind of going through your mind in terms of, if you wake up on the morning and then you feel like, do you know what, I can't give 100% today. I can't train properly today. Or I won't be able to get the session out to the quality that I would be happy with, then I'm just not going to bother. I'll leave it and then I'll come back the next day and do it.
Yes. And some people, they would go, let's say it's raining.
Yeah.
They will go out and train in the rain because the program said this. The times I'm coaching and we have some work to do on the grass,
Hmm.
but the grass isn't cut. I improvise.
Right.
That's different.
Yeah.
But every time the athletes come, before we say good morning, I is like, how do you feel?
Yeah.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Because I'm not trying to get into your business, but I need to know that you're in good health and good fitness to do what I'm going to ask you to do.
Yeah.
That's all. That's all. I just need to know you're okay and we can get to work.
Yeah. Okay. Um, yeah, absolutely. I think that all makes so much sense to me. I am interested to know kind of how the training might progress a little bit. So let's say we're now, I don't know, we're 6 months into training. So the first 6 week block has been 10 100s on the
Mhm.
first day. Day three has been some 200s. Day five has been some 300s. A few months down the line, how might that look? What might that have progressed to?
Well, question is, well, for some professionals, some persons go to indoors.
Yeah, okay.
So if you're going to indoors, like January, we're looking at, okay, we need to make some adjustments. But here's the thing, most people don't know how to break it down for indoors and rebuild back for the outdoors.
Okay.
But when you're looking at 6 months down the line, that is when we get into more 200s, 180s, 150s type of workout.
Okay. So if you were
Okay.
doing, so how, like, typically how many of those runs would you be doing? So if you were doing,
Oh,
are you doing
oh
lots,
my
or are you
God.
doing sort of like 3 or 4 runs, or? Or
No,
am I
no,
probing too deep?
no, we're not at the Black Sea yet.
Okay.
We're not at the Black Sea yet. Give me a second. My battery is dying. We're
Oh,
not at the
okay, no
Black Sea yet.
problem.
We're not at the Black Sea yet. But again, what people don't understand, when it comes to running, sprinting, you put the race together like it's a puzzle.
Mhm.
Hold on a second. Let me see if you can hear me. Hello?
I can hear you.
Hello?
Hello, yeah, I can hear you good.
No?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Okay, yeah.
Okay, we're good now. We're good.
Yeah, what it is, the race is almost like a puzzle. Here's the thing. When you start on your mark, set the gun. You can, when it comes to sprinting, you don't start at the start. You start at the end.
Okay.
Same thing with like if you do long jump, if I'm teaching long jump, high jump, you don't start at the start. You start at the end. You start at the pit. You start at the
Okay.
bed. You
Okay.
teach them to land in the bed, how to land in the pit.
Okay. Yeah.
So as you go, you're building. Now, again, most people love block workout. They love to hear, oh, we're doing starts today. Yay. They love the fun stuff. But we're going to get to the fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But when you put in this work, when you do get to the fun stuff, it's going to be very easy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When you get into the speed work, for example, a day of speed work, when it comes to, when you get closer to competition and you start to do maybe 3 times 90 meters, that's it for one day.
Okay. Yeah.
But some people, let me give you, this is a typical crazy workout that a lot of people do.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna come to trade and they're gonna do maybe like anywhere from 5 to 10, 40 or 50 meters
Mm-hmm.
flat out.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're gonna do blocks after that.
Right.
And when they're done the blocks, they're gonna do some 150s. Again, that's 3 days
Yeah.
of workout for me in one day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then they want to know why they're not making it. It's like that show Weakest Link. When you
Yeah.
save the money, you say bank. When you do a workout, you bank it. What
Mm-hmm.
happens? The body remembers, hey, this is what we do when we're in the blocks. On your mark set, the first 10 meters, the first 20, and so on. You want the body to remember that.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't mix the blocks with anything else. You don't mix the speed with the speed endurance. And you don't mix. But when people mix,
Okay.
you confuse the body.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. So you just keep it, and I guess that kind of comes back to what you were saying at the beginning about it being simple. So you're just like you're picking, well, you've got one target for any kind of given session, and that's what we're focusing on. We're working on this aspect. We're not mixing it with anything else. We're just going after
No,
one thing.
because
Yeah.
the body is not designed that way. I mean, you say you're an educator. Imagine we have in a math class
Yeah.
in 15 minutes and we're going to close the book and open history books.
Yeah.
And then, okay, close the history books. Okay, science.
Yeah.
No, you have a math class for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and
Yeah.
then you're going to have a break to calm the brain down before you go into something else.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. It's a good
again,
analogy. Yeah. I like it. Yeah.
yeah, they want to do all this, they want to cram all of these things, but we have so much time. But because people train at high intensity for so long,
Yeah.
you're going to plateau or you're going to get injured.
So yeah, I mean, so that's a really interesting point. So in if we're kind of getting towards, I don't know, whenever you might be doing, for example, that 3 by 90 meter workout that you mentioned, which I quite like. The rest of those, the other sessions on within that training week, are they all going to be high intensity sessions, or is that going to be is the 3 times 90? Is that going to be your real kind of high intensity session for that week, and then the other sessions are going to be a little bit easier, or
No, this is around competition time when you're
okay,
trying to get right. So you may have 390 meters one day, the next day
mm-hmm.
you come back recover. You might do maybe 5 times 60 meters. It could be either you finish, you turn and come back, no rest.
Okay.
That is, oh, that, trust me, that is amazing. I love that one. I'll have to give that at least that one. Or maybe you might do 3 times 110 or 110, 120, 110, 90 meters.
Okay.
More of a bit. But you don't want to do more than 3.
So if you're doing those sessions, so sorry, let me ask another question as well. So if you're
Yes.
doing those 3 times 90 or that 120, 110, 90, are
Yes.
you having long rests in between those? Have they got long rests in between them?
Well, between 8 to 10 minutes.
Okay. Yeah.
Depending on the individual, they will be get up to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
8 to 10 on most times.
So yeah, so I guess the reason I asked that, so my chain of thought would be is that if you're doing 90s or 110s off 8 to 10 minutes, if you're doing 3 of those, then those runs are all going to be quite quick, potentially. Whereas if you're doing the 60-meter workout that you outlined, where you run 60 meters and then you turn around and run straight back, then because the recovery is so short, then it kind of limits how intensely that you can work. It limits how fast you can sprint. So it kind of it kind of helps to hold you back a little bit. So maybe it kind of lowers that injury risk because you're now not running those 60s at 6.5 pace because you've only had a very, very short rest period. And so they become a bit slower. Is that fair what I'm saying?
Yeah, it takes the wind out of you, man. It's more of a speed endurance type exercise
Yeah.
because you no rest. And what it is, you're trying to is a trick because you don't want the sprint to be too long. So
Yeah.
you shorten it and no rest.
Yeah.
Basketball call it suicides.
Yeah. Okay.
That type of thing. And it can be beneficial, but you want it done from a 3-point start.
Mm-hmm.
But as they go along, the 3-point start fades because again, it usually start get tired, a little bit fatigued because if you are fit enough, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
You'll be able to finish. But it depends on how well the person been training properly, they'll finish much better.